Welcome to Crimes Beyond Borders, where we'll bring you the most thrilling true crime stories every single day. If you're fascinated by mystery, intrigue, and the darker side of human nature, you're in the right place. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and join us as we unravel the most shocking and perplexing criminal cases from around the world. The story is about to begin after this intro.
From city streets to far-off lands, mystery slipping through our hands. Crimes beyond borders they speak, voices strong but words are meek. Every story leaves a mark, whispers softly in the dark.
Our stories at first are made for ourselves, to comfort us, to help us sleep, and to learn. Along the way, they become a part of our journey, teaching us English and fueling our passion for true crime. So, listen carefully, and if you're about to sleep, close your eyes. Let's begin. The Aarushi Talwar and Hemraj murder case, a tale of deception, murder, and a media frenzy. On May 16, 2008, in the quiet, middle-class suburb of Noida, a satellite city near Delhi, India, the body of 13-year-old Aarushi Talwar was found in her bedroom. What seemed to be the horrific murder of a young girl inside the safety of her home would soon spiral into one of the most controversial and mysterious murder cases in Indian history. Within days, a second murder would be discovered, and suspicions would fall on her own parents, who were ultimately convicted but later acquitted. This story is not just about a crime, but also about a deeply flawed investigation, sensationalized media coverage, and a tragic miscarriage of justice. The Noida double murder case, as it came to be known, exposed the weaknesses of India's legal and investigative systems, leaving behind more questions than answers, and a grieving family at the center of it all. The morning of May 16, 2008, discovery of Aarushi's body. On the morning of May 16, 2008, Aarushi Talwar's parents, Dr. Rajesh Talwar and Dr. Nupur Talwar, discovered their daughter lying dead in her bed. Aarushi, a bright, lively girl with a promising future, had been murdered in her own room. Her throat had been slit with surgical precision, and her head bore evidence of blunt force trauma. For any parent, this would have been an unimaginable nightmare, but for the Talwars, this was just the beginning of an ordeal that would last for years. Initially, suspicion fell on the family's 45-year-old domestic worker, Hemraj, who was missing on the morning of Aarushi's murder. The Talwars, their friends, and even the local police initially believed that Hemraj had committed the crime and fled the scene. The media quickly picked up the story, labeling Hemraj as the prime suspect in the murder of the young girl. The case, however, took a dramatic turn the following day. The second murder, discovery of Hemraj's body. On May 17, 2008, just a day after Aarushi's body was found, a gruesome discovery was made. Hemraj's decomposing body was found on the terrace of the Talwar's flat, hidden under a cooler and a torn mattress. His throat had also been slit in a manner similar to Aarushi's, and his head bore injuries from a blunt object. The discovery of Hemraj's body shocked investigators and cast serious doubts on the initial theory that he had killed Aarushi. Suddenly, the question became, if Hemraj hadn't killed Aarushi, then who had murdered both Aarushi and Hemraj? The case took on a new dimension, and the police were forced to look beyond the obvious. The media, too, switched its narrative, focusing now on the idea that the murders had been an inside job, committed by someone who knew both Aarushi and Hemraj well. A botched investigation, initial missteps by the police. The initial investigation into Aarushi and Hemraj's murders was marked by glaring missteps, lost evidence, and carelessness. When Aarushi's body was discovered, the police allowed relatives and neighbors to enter the crime scene, contaminating crucial evidence. The terrace, where Hemraj's body was eventually found, had not been searched thoroughly on the first day of the investigation, leading to a crucial delay in uncovering his murder. The police also failed to secure the crime scene adequately, and by the time Hemraj's body was found, the crime scene had already been disturbed. These early mistakes would go on to severely hamper the investigation and contribute to the confusion surrounding the case. With public pressure mounting and the media coverage intensifying, the Noida police made a controversial and, some would say, desperate decision. Instead of focusing on an external perpetrator, they turned their suspicions on Aarushi's own parents, Rajesh and Nupur Talwar. The parents under suspicion, a shocking accusation. On May 23, 2008, just days after Aarushi and Hemraj were found murdered, the Noida police held a sensational press conference. In it, they accused Rajesh Talwar, Aarushi's father, of being the prime suspect in the double murder. According to the police, Rajesh had killed Aarushi and Hemraj in a fit of rage after allegedly discovering them in a compromising position in Aarushi's bedroom. This theory, which quickly became known as the honor-killing hypothesis, was based on the idea that Rajesh had acted out of anger and shame, killing both his daughter and the domestic worker to restore his family's honor. The police claimed that Nupur Talwar, Aarushi's mother, was aware of the crime and had helped her husband cover it up. The theory was shocking, not only because it implicated grieving parents in the murder of their own child, but also because it relied heavily on conjecture and speculation. There was no physical evidence to support the claim that Aarushi and Hemraj had been found together or that Rajesh had committed the murders. Nevertheless, the media latched onto the story, and the Talwar family found themselves vilified in the public eye. Media frenzy, trial by public opinion. From the moment the police accused Rajesh Talwar of murder, the media descended on the case with a voracious appetite. Aarushi's murder was no longer just a crime, it became a spectacle. News channels, tabloids, and talk shows began dissecting every detail of the Talwars' lives, often with little regard for facts or the family's privacy. Rumors and theories about the Talwars' private lives spread like wildfire. The media painted Rajesh and Nupur as controlling parents, suggesting that Aarushi had been leading a secret life, engaging in romantic relationships behind her parents' backs. Sensationalist headlines labeled Aarushi's murder as a crime of passion, with some even suggesting that she had been involved in an affair with Hemraj. The media's relentless coverage of the case, much of it speculative and sensationalized, added to the pressure on the police to deliver a quick resolution. But as the investigation dragged on, it became increasingly clear that there were far more questions than answers. A twist in the tale. The Central Bureau of Investigation takes over. In June 2008, the Indian government handed the case over to the Central Bureau of Investigation, CBI, India's premier investigative agency. The CBI's involvement initially raised hopes that the truth would finally come to light and that the botched police investigation could be corrected. However, even with the CBI at the helm, the case became more complicated. The CBI's first investigative team, led by Joint Director Arun Kumar, conducted a thorough inquiry and came to a different conclusion than the Noida police. After examining the forensic evidence, witness statements, and the timeline of events, the CBI found no conclusive evidence linking Rajesh and Nupur Talwar to the murders. In fact, the agency's investigation pointed to an entirely different set of suspects. The CBI's first team suspected that the murders may have been committed by 3 former domestic workers, including Krishna Thadarai, who worked for the Talwar's neighbor, and Rajkumar and Vijay Mandal, who had also worked in nearby homes. The theory was that these men had attempted to assault Aarushi and Hemraj, and when the situation spiraled out of control, they killed them both to cover up their crime. The CBI conducted narco-analysis tests, controversial and unreliable drug-induced interrogations on these men, and Krishna allegedly made incriminating statements. However, these statements were not admissible in court. Despite this promising lead, the CBI was unable to build a strong enough case against the 3 men, largely due to the lack of physical evidence linking them to the crime. As a result, the first CBI team was disbanded, and a new team was brought in to reinvestigate the case. This marked a turning point in the case, as the new team reverted to the original theory that Rajesh and Nupur Talwar were responsible for the murders. The trial and conviction of the Talwars. In 2010, the CBI officially charged Rajesh and Nupur Talwar with the murders of Aarushi and Hemraj, reigniting the media frenzy and putting the Talwars back on trial, this time in a court of law. The case moved slowly through the Indian legal system, and in 2013, after 5 years of legal battles, Rajesh and Nupur were both convicted of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. The conviction was based on circumstantial evidence, as there was no direct physical evidence linking the Talwars to the crime. The prosecution argued that the parents had killed Aarushi and Hemraj after discovering them together in Arushi's bedroom. The prosecution claimed that the murder weapon was a golf club and that the Talwars had tampered with the crime scene to destroy evidence. The conviction sent shockwaves through India, as many believed that the Talwars had been wrongfully convicted. The media, which had initially fueled the public's suspicion of the Talwars, now began to question whether justice had been served. Several documentaries, books, and investigative reports were produced, suggesting that the case had been mishandled from the start and that the Talwars were innocent victims of a corrupt and incompetent system. Acquittal and continued controversy. In 2017, after spending 4 years in prison, Rajesh and Nupur Talwar were acquitted by the Allahabad High Court, which ruled that there was insufficient evidence to convict them of the murders. The court pointed out numerous flaws in the investigation and the prosecution's case, stating that the evidence against the Talwars was not strong enough to prove their guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The Talwars' release was met with relief from their supporters and outrage from those who still believed in their guilt. The acquittal reignited public debate about the case, with many still divided over who was responsible for the murders of Aarushi and Hemraj. Unanswered questions. The legacy of the case. Even after more than a decade, the Noida double murder case remains unresolved. The acquittal of Rajesh and Nupur Talwar has left the case open, and the real killer or killers remain at large. The case has become a symbol of the deep flaws within India's criminal justice system, from the police's initial mishandling of the investigation to the media's irresponsible reporting and the reliance on circumstantial evidence in the courts. For Arushi's family, the tragedy has left them scarred, not just by the loss of their daughter, but by the years of public scrutiny and false accusations. The case also stands as a cautionary tale about the dangers of jumping to conclusions, the influence of the media on public perception, and the far-reaching consequences of a botched investigation. Conclusion. The Aarushi Talwar and Hemraj Banjade murder case will likely remain one of India's most perplexing and controversial criminal cases. With no clear resolution in sight and a trail that has gone cold, the case continues to haunt the Indian public and legal community alike. For Rajesh and Nupur Talwar, their acquittal brought some measure of relief, but the true story of what happened on that fateful night in May 2008 remains a mystery that may never be solved. The case stands as a stark reminder that justice is not always served, and sometimes the truth becomes a casualty in a system overwhelmed by flawed investigations, public pressure, and sensationalized media coverage. The story has come to an end, but stay relaxed. If you feel yourself drifting off to sleep, just let the video play and enjoy the soothing music in the background. Let it guide you gently into rest. We'll be here, bringing you more stories every night. Sleep well, and see you tomorrow at 8 p.m.